hydrogen backbone. Hi, Niko.
Hi, Phoenix. How's it going?
Great. Everything is great. So I can hear you. I can see you.
Excellent.
And yeah, the poll is ready here. So feel free to give me a sign when you would like to run the poll.
Okay.
So you can share your screen for your presentation.
All right. Yeah, I've built the poll into the presentation, so we'll know from the presentation when.
Yes,
when
I will be ready. Don't worry.
All right. Excellent. So yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. I see or I read a few familiar people here in the participants. Barbara, it's good to see you. Hi. So let me see if I can get this shared. This should work out here, I think. Right, Felix, let me know. Is this good? Can you see the screen? Everything good?
All good. We can see the screen.
All right, super. So yeah, my name is Niko Bosnjak. I'm head of communications and policy at OGE, and I've been invited today to present to you the findings of the European Hydrogen Backbone version 2.0, so to say. So this is the update of the previous version that we published in the summer of last year. Maybe just real quick, who is OGE? We are one of the leading European gas TSOs in Europe. We have about 1,500 employees, are headquartered in Essen. We operate about 12,000 kilometers of high pressure gas network. As you can see here, it really stretches from northwestern Germany all the way to the southeast. So, and indeed, with Germany located at the heart of Europe, we're also really centrally located and yeah, transporting about 650 terawatt hours per year across Germany and of course across Europe. So let's start with the first poll here. Phoenix, if you could get that going. Right, the question is, if you take into account the different heating values that hydrogen and methane have, how much energy do you figure can be transported in hydrogen pipelines compared to the methane pipelines? Is it about 80% of the energy value you can transport with hydrogen compared to methane? Is it only 50%, or is it only about a third? So, okay, I guess I need to participate myself. Very curious to see what you come up with. Okay, there we go. That's the result. Okay, so 42% think it's 80% and about 58%. So the majority thinks it's a third. Very interesting. That's exactly the rabbit hole that I want to lead you down. Of course, the heating value of hydrogen compared to methane is only a third. However, in pipelines, because of the smaller molecules and because of the flow rate, the much higher flow rate of hydrogen compared to methane, we are actually able, answer A, to transport about 80% of the energy content that you would transport in methane pipelines with hydrogen. So I know this is sort of like a surprising result at this point, but indeed, question A is correct. 80% of very high value, so almost on par with what you would be able to transport with methane pipelines. So yeah, thanks very much for answering this poll at this point. And maybe also to reiterate at this point why we think the hydrogen backbone is so important, because we're not building up this infrastructure only to be able to transport about a third of the energy we're able to transport beforehand, but it really is hydrogen pipelines as a means of transporting hydrogen really is a good substitute for methane, as you can see from this result. So let's move on in the presentation. The design, the graphics change a little bit now because I'm presenting to you here the original slides that we were showing at the presentation of the hydrogen backbone about a month ago. So let's dive right in. This is the overview here of who's been participating in the hydrogen backbone. You can see that in 2020, we started out with about 11 TSOs who also coincide with the TSOs that are members of Gas for Climate. This is explicitly not a Gas for Climate undertaking, but it's something that we do separate, but it's between those 11 TSOs and biomethane associations that are part of Gas for Climate. And you can see here in 2021, also because of the big impact we had with this hydrogen backbone, another 12 TSOs joined us. And in this year, with this hydrogen backbone we presented, we're now covering 19 EU member states, plus the United Kingdom and Switzerland, so 21 countries total. And you can see that the backbone has really expanded here, especially towards Eastern Europe, Northeastern Europe, Northwestern Europe. Luxembourg joined, and of course, Greece. So this is really very exciting because we can really say this is really a full, comprehensive European backbone that we're presenting here. Let's go to the second poll at this point. Poll number 2. Thank you, Phoenix. So the hydrogen backbone is based on the existing gas infrastructure. And how much do you think of this current version that we're presenting here of the EHB is based on retrofitted pipelines compared to newly constructed pipelines? So how many of these pipelines that I'm going to be presenting here are converted, retrofitted gas pipelines that were used for methane before, and how much of them then conversely are newly constructed? Let's see which results are coming in. I'll be explaining a little bit more why this number is important in a second. As you can imagine, mostly has to do with how much the backbone costs, about the finances, and the total investment cost that we're going to be incurring. So let's see what result comes back. Alrighty, an overwhelming majority, 83%, replied with 69%, which indeed is also the correct number. So 70% of the pipelines you're going to be seeing here are based on already existing pipelines, and only about 31% are newly constructed pipelines. Yeah, so excellent result here. Let's dive right into the maps and the results. This is what the backbone looks like in 2030. I will mostly be focusing on what has changed compared to last year's publication. To lead back to the poll question that you guys just answered, you can see here from the different coloring of the pipelines that it's the blue pipelines here that you see that are retrofitted pipelines, so pipelines that already exist today as gas pipelines and that are then being used for hydrogen. And it's these yellow ones here and then little stretches in between here that are newly constructed. So in 2030, the initial backbone is mostly characterized by connecting industrial clusters to one another. So we have a very heavy industrial area here in the northwest of Germany, as well as Amsterdam and parts of Belgium. So there's already a lot of industry that's going to be initially requiring quite a bit of hydrogen. And incidentally, this is why there's such a clustering of pipelines early on. With the LH gas conversion, there's a lot of pipelines being freed up in the next years. And so there's really a very good basis for converting pipelines that are no longer needed at that point. But not only in this area, also in Italy as well as in Spain, we see quite a bit of hydrogen pipelines connecting industrial areas there. In the northeast of Europe, we see mostly newly constructed pipelines, also because the current natural gas pipeline system isn't quite as developed there as it is in a lot of parts of Central Europe. Also, another country that has recently joined, the UK. There we also see a lot of hydrogen pipelines built on early on. The UK has been really advancing in promoting hydrogen, and so their plans are really also going far ahead to implement hydrogen pipelines into their energy system. What else is notable is that there is already sort of a north-south corridor developing here in Italy, with a possible, as early as 2030, with a possible connection to Northern Africa. So we can already see here the early roots of an import pipeline into the European Union. So let's see how this develops into 2035. These initial clusters are, maturing. They're growing. Hydrogen after this initial phase up to 2030 and the early 2030s is going to take a foothold in the energy system in general. Hydrogen will be much more widely used and demanded. So more and more clusters are going to be emerging, and usage of hydrogen is going to be more widespread, so that more and more pipelines are needed to connect this demand to the production. So we see here, especially in Central and in Eastern Europe, there is a first east-west route emerging here at this point, with possible import points from Ukraine. We see notably also a corridor emerging all the way from southern Spain through France into the south of Germany. And we also see that pipeline systems in the northeast of Europe are also starting to be interconnected, even with subsea pipelines that we see here are possible for Central Europe to be able to take advantage of the renewable energy production that's going on in the North Baltic Sea here at that point. Also notably here in Central Europe, we still sort of have a gap. So we're not looking at fully closing this line here until 2040, which we're getting to now at this point. So in 2040, we really have a mature infrastructure that stretches in all directions and comprises about 40,000 kilometers in total. As you can see here, energy islands in the North Sea, where hydrogen might be produced offshore, are already connected to the system. We see here the UK with a very strong and finely developed network. We see a lot of new development going on here in Poland, where a lot of newly constructed pipelines are located as well. We see the second corridor emerging from Spain through France all the way to Northern and Central Europe. And yeah, as I said before, we also see this connection here being closed from Italy towards Central Europe. We also see that there is further connecting here of Italy and Greece, as well as further options and possibilities of pipelines leading to import routes from the Middle East. As we can see here, North Africa is now really connected at that point, we believe, to the EU. And of course, Norway has its own connection here at this point. So That is what the updated version of the backbone looks like. Let's go into some of the cost assumptions and results that we came up with here. So as I said before, the backbone has extended in length and in scope. It is now 21 countries with 40,000 kilometers, as opposed to the 10 countries that we were before with about 23,000 kilometers. The relative share of repurposed pipelines compared to new pipelines has slightly decreased. We're now at 69% repurposed pipelines as to previously 75%. This is just due to the fact that we've included more countries in this project that don't have as much of a developed gas infrastructure today, or that have infrastructure and an energy system or an energy system in which the infrastructure of current gas pipelines will still be relying on transporting methane further into the future than other places. Also, whereas previously we've looked at one pipeline type, we have now updated investment costs to be differentiating between 48, 36, and 20-inch pipelines. So yeah, that we just better address the very mixed state of pipeline diameters that we currently have in the European Union. So some of the implications of our analysis here is that the entire investment cost per kilometer of network is actually lower than in the last backbone that we published. However, because of the different pipeline sizes, we have an increased cost. We have an increased operating cost per kilometer of hydrogen transported. This is just simply due to the fact that, putting in a pipeline, you have sort of a base cost, and whereas, yes, you have to use more steel in using, or in building a 48-inch compared to 20-inch pipeline, the amount of energy that you're transporting compared to the base cost is lower for the smaller inch pipelines. So the operating costs here for smaller pipelines are higher compared to the energy transported at that point. So we have that effect here that is increased. And so in total, we have an increased levelized cost per kilogram of hydrogen transported per kilometer. And that is very important. And I think one of the key messages that I want you to take away from this, whereas last time we had a medium case of 13 cents per kilogram hydrogen transported per 1,000 kilometers, we're now ending up at 16 cents. So the range that we're showing here is in the low estimate cost of 11 cents and then a high estimate cost of 21 cents. So if you suppose, and we think that is absolutely realistic, that by 2040 at the latest, we will see a price of somewhere between €1 to €2 per kilogram of hydrogen. This is absolutely in the range of about 10%. So 10% cost for long distance transportation per 1,000 kilometers. So a very competitive, very, very cost attractive way of transporting hydrogen over long distances. And we're very glad that while we came up with a very similar range last year and the 13 cents, as I said, per kilogram per 1,000 kilometers, that even though we've extended the backbone, we have taken on countries where more newly constructed pipelines are necessary, that the cost range is still more or less the same. So especially compared to the forecasted price of hydrogen, so a very competitive and very attractive way to transport hydrogen. So to sum this up, with this hydrogen backbone, we're able to integrate large amounts of renewable energy, and this will be the backbone and sort of the basis to create a really liquid cross-border market for hydrogen, may that be renewable or low carbon. we've demonstrated, we've really demonstrated, we've double checked that the vision we've presented last year is robust, that we've shown a technically and economically plausible vision, and that it's feasible and cost effective the way we've approached it. What is very great to see is that the 2040 backbone in this version 2.0 has almost doubled in length compared to last year's report, and can't stress this enough. We're very glad that a backbone can be created at a very affordable cost. So I think it's time for another poll, which is less of a technical question, but rather more of an opinion. Do you think, after seeing this presentation, that using the hydrogen backbone is a viable option for your company to transport hydrogen? I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about that. Okay, I'm not seeing a result yet. Should be coming up any minute. Oh, that's an excellent result. 50% definitely, 50% maybe. Nobody said probably not. That's very good to hear. Of course, this is still only a vision that we're presenting here. So yeah, a lot of things, or some things, have to happen in order for this to turn into a reality. Definitely something that we're working on. So I can see 50% saying maybe is totally acceptable. We'll absolutely be driving this project forward and work on it to make it a reality. But very glad to see that at least half of you would definitely use our hydrogen backbone to transport hydrogen. So just before I end, maybe a couple of next steps that we're going to have with. We're currently working on an updated and region-specific study of expected hydrogen supply and demand. That is one of the questions that we get most, is there even enough hydrogen demand in order to justify such a backbone? And even if there is a demand that wants to receive this hydrogen, is there enough supply to satisfy this demand? So that'll be coming up on June 7th. Look out for our webinar from Guidehouse, our consulting company that will be presenting this. We are engaging with many stakeholders here throughout the value chain. So if you and your company are interested in joining this, email me afterwards or email Guidehouse. We are looking forward to taking everybody's considerations on board and making the backbone itself, but also the supply and demand analysis even more high resolution. We're of course coordinating our efforts as well with GIE and NSOC, so our European gas associations, to make sure that everything is in line with the work they're doing. And yes, just to stress this again, really looking forward to engaging with you on this, and also looking forward very much to your questions right now. So yep, that's everything from my side right now. But yeah, looking forward to your questions and very happy to discuss.
Right, thank you, Niko. And so I can see Zach is raising his